Jada Jackson was no stranger to silence. She'd grown up in a neighborhood where justice showed up late, if it showed up at all. Her father, Michael, was a quiet man, a former mechanic turned community mentor. Her mother passed when Jada was 10, and since then it was just the two of them, surviving, enduring. But everything changed the day 3 police cars pulled up outside their home, sirens off. Jada was 22, studying criminal justice, ironically. She opened the door and was immediately shoved aside. The officers stormed in, guns drawn. "Where is it?" one growled. "Where's what?" Michael asked, raising his hands. No answer. They trashed the house, flipped the couches, punched holes in the walls, even ripped up the floorboards. And then they left, no warrant, no explanation. Just sneers and laughter as they disappeared into the night. Jada filed a complaint. The department said there was no record of a raid, no officers dispatched, no incident report, nothing. That's when she realized this wasn't a mistake. This was a warning. Over the next few weeks, strange things started happening. Michael's bank account was frozen. His truck was towed, then reported stolen. Jada got a call from her school. Her scholarship had been revoked for academic dishonesty. She hadn't even missed a single class. They were being erased. Jada dug deeper. Using skills from her criminal justice classes, she started piecing things together. FOIA requests, old case files, local news archives. She worked at night while her dad slept, afraid to tell him just how deep this was going. One night she found it. A 2003 internal affairs complaint filed by a rookie officer, anonymous. It detailed a secret group within the police department called the Revenants, an unofficial task force of officers who took unpunished justice into their own hands, mostly targeting black families, mostly hiding behind fake paperwork and anonymous tips. Jada wasn't just fighting racism. She was fighting a ghost squad, and someone had reopened old files on her father. Apparently, Michael had been targeted before. 20 years ago, he testified against a police sergeant in a brutality case. His statement had gotten that man demoted and nearly cost Michael his life. Back then, it was just intimidation, a brick through the window, a slashed tire. He never told Jada. Now they were back, and they were trying to finish the job. But Jada wasn't going to let that happen. She gathered every file, every document, every name tied to the Revenants. She created a digital dossier and uploaded it to 5 different cloud services. Then she sent it all to one place that couldn't be ignored. A major national journalist who had recently gone viral for exposing a mayor's secret real estate scam. Within 48 hours, the story hit headlines. Rogue police unit terrorizing black communities for decades. One woman fights back. The fallout was instant. 3 officers were suspended. 2 resigned. The police chief held a press conference denying knowledge, but later, emails leaked that he had approved the original raid on the Jacksons. The FBI stepped in. The Revenants were dismantled. Jada and Michael, they were cleared. Her scholarship reinstated, and the city issued a public apology. But the real win, Jada didn't stop. She launched a community justice initiative, training youth on how to document abuse, request public records, and protect their rights. The cops were racist, the system was dirty, but this family brought it to its knees. Just when Jada thought it was over, just when the dust had settled and the city began to heal, an anonymous email landed in her inbox. Subject line, "You only scratched the surface." Attached was a single grainy photo. It showed her father, Michael, in handcuffs, but the timestamp, it was from 2 weeks before the raid, and the uniformed officer standing behind him, smiling, was none other than the journalist Jada had trusted with the story. What? She cross-referenced the photo with older documents and her chest tightened. The journalist, Marcus Hale, wasn't just a reporter. He was a former undercover officer. Worse, he was one of the founding members of the Revenants, the group Jada helped dismantle. But how? Why would he expose his own network? Jada dug deeper again. Through encrypted databases and whistleblower forums, she discovered the terrifying truth. Marcus had turned on the Revenants not for justice, but revenge. His own brother, also a cop, had been killed in a botched operation by the group, mistaken identity, covered up as a gang shootout. Marcus had been hunting them from the inside for years, And when he found Jada's case, he saw an opportunity. Leverage her story, burn the organization, get closure. But he didn't care who got caught in the flames. Jada was just a match to him. In that photo, it wasn't her dad being arrested. It was Michael, leading a group out of a warehouse, carrying black duffel bags. Jada zoomed in, not handcuffs, wires. Michael had once been an informant. For the FBI, he hadn't told Jada because the case had been sealed, and so had his past. The entire time she thought she was the one uncovering the truth. But her father, he'd been protecting her, while hiding a second war from everyone, including her. And now that war was knocking again, because someone else had seen that email too, and they weren't happy. Jada stared at the photo again. Her father, the wires, the warehouse. It didn't add up. Why would he hide that from her? Why would the FBI bury the truth? Then, she remembered something. Back when she was 14, her dad had taken her on a road trip out of nowhere. No reason, just packed a bag and left town for 3 days. At the time, she thought he was just grieving. Now, she wasn't so sure. She broke into one of her dad's locked toolboxes, the one he always kept in the garage beneath the floorboards. Inside were dusty files, old tape cassettes, and something else. A badge, but not from the FBI. It was from a division she'd never seen before. DHS NEX, Division of Homeland Security, National Extremist Exposures. The badge expired in 2006. That wasn't just a sealed case. Her father wasn't just an informant. He was a deep undercover federal agent. And worse, he'd infiltrated the Revenants years ago. Helped build them from the inside, under orders. The police brutality, the corruption, the fear. The federal government had once considered it all part of a counter-extremism tactic to flush out white supremacist cops by creating a fake task force. Only it got out of hand. Some agents went rogue, and by the time Michael wanted out, he couldn't leave. So he staged his own disappearance from the system, dropped the badge, and went back to being just a mechanic. Jada wasn't the only one hunting ghosts. Her father was one. And now, by exposing the Revenants publicly, she'd accidentally triggered a new wave of threats, not from local cops, but from shadowy government branches that never wanted this story to come out. She hadn't just exposed bad cops. She'd exposed an entire government-sanctioned experiment in racial manipulation, and someone wanted her silent, for good. Jada sat frozen, gripping the badge in her hand. The walls felt like they were closing in. Her father had been part of something so much bigger than she ever imagined. It wasn't just a fight against corrupt cops. It was against a system that had manipulated their lives, their choices, and their truths for decades. But she wasn't scared anymore. Her father had always taught her, you don't stop until the truth is free, and that's exactly what she was going to do. No matter how dark, how dangerous the road ahead might be, she knew she wasn't alone. The world was about to hear their story, not just the cops or the government, but every person who had been silenced, pushed down, and told they couldn't make a difference. Jada reached out to the FBI with the information she found. This time the agency took it seriously, and while there were whispers of retaliation, of threats, and of shady figures watching from the shadows, Jada's voice couldn't be silenced. The story spread like wildfire. More reporters picked it up. The public was furious. Citizens from every corner of the country started demanding accountability. Not just for the cops who had been part of the Revenants, but for every institution that allowed corruption to thrive. It was bigger than just her father. It was bigger than just their family. It was a revolution. Months later, a federal investigation began, leading to mass arrests, the dismantling of underground police networks, and a major overhaul of police practices in several states. And Jada, she became a leader in the movement for justice reform. Her platform exploded. Her voice reached millions. She helped other victims of corruption come forward. Her father, Michael, was honored as a hero, quietly, behind the scenes, because that's the way he wanted it. But they both knew the fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. If you made it this far, you're part of something bigger than just a story. You're part of a movement for truth, justice, and accountability. Subscribe to Dark Side of Luna to catch 1,000 more true stories like this one. Stories of resistance, courage, and the fight for what's right. Hit that bell so you don't miss a single episode, because we're just getting started.